Let's now welcome political analyst Bongani Mahlangu to weigh in on these as well as other political developments in the country this week. Bongani, it's always great to have you with us. Thank you so much. So lots of developments on the political front in the country this week. Where do we even start? The DA revisiting currently its future within the GNU. Steenhuisen earlier on, I think about an hour ago, saying that that will be the decision of their federal council. But are these just empty threats, by the way? They're actually currently campaigning in Phoenix and Durban as we speak.
No, greetings, my AJ colleagues in studio and viewers at home. So a lot has happened, but obviously it stems from the budget vote. So I think that's where we should start. So I was looking at the composition of Parliament. It's 400 members. And those that voted for the proposal by the Minister of Finance were 194. And from that 194, it was 10 parties. And in total, they had about 8 people absent. And those that voted against were 182. And then from those 182, it's in total for those parties, it was 198. And they had 16 people that were not there, mainly coming from the MK. So if you look at then the 10, in total, they would make up about 50.5% of Parliament, and then those that were against would make up 49.5% of Parliament. So that means that even this victory won by the ANC in this case and context is but a tactical victory, but not strategic, because the margins are very slim. Meaning moving forward to other budgets, they might really struggle. And I say this in the context that you find Bo Action SA are now contesting or auditioning to form part of the GNU if the DA were to exit. But then even if they came in at the exit of the DA, that GNU, whatever formation that they will form, it will still be very fragile because of the 50.5% that they would have. So they would still at time to time need the other parties that would not be part of them or part of the 10 in order to get things through. And that would mean a lot of concessions that would have to take place there. So no one is safe at the moment. And then when you look into the DA itself, the DA will not voluntarily exit the GNU because the DA's campaign for the local government elections of 2026 are built on the victories or on the successes of the 12 positions that they currently hold in cabinet right now. So they would pushed out then to voluntarily step out. And also if you look into the GNU itself, statements made by the ANC such as you did not support the budget, therefore you cannot be in the GNU or in government in order to implement the budget, So, but we have to start at the point where the ANC itself went outside the GNU to lobby support to get the budget through. So that means they would have undermined their partners. That means then they would have undermined the agreement they have with their partners and the mechanisms put in place to deal with any disputes that emanate from partners not agreeing on a position. So they did not explore that, they went outside. So for the DA to disagree within the GNU is well within the statement of intent or the agreement that they have. So for the DA also to go to courts right now and litigate against the processes, it is because of a reaction of the ANC going outside the GNU. So then it's a question of who transgressed first. Hence, I said that they will not voluntarily leave. And then when we get to Action SA, Action SA has been going around claiming a victory with regards to the VAT, or rather the budget that was then passed by the votes. But if you look at it, their recommendations, are they consistent with the Money Bills Amendment Procedure and Related Matters Act? Because they would have participated, yes, in Section 4 of the Act, subsection 1-2 committees, that would be your Finance and Appropriation Committee. And it's a committee that makes the recommendation, not necessarily a party making a separate recommendation to the minister or rather to Parliament. So then this victory that they claim, is it consistent with the legislative framework that exists? And I would say no, unless they can come and prove that it does. But it's a good option for them to sit at the table.
You know, Bongani, very interesting. I was actually going to ask you that as a follow-up question, but I mean, you covered most basics of what I wanted to ask you. But just before speaking to you, the SACP there also seems to be of the same mindset as Action SA, that, of course, the ANC, the GNU partners that were willing to negotiate with the parties outside of course, the current governing structure, were actually given these conditions to say after 30 days, you come back and then consult us. So what is going to happen come the 1st of May? Are we going to have a VAT increment or what?
That's why I said that that question should be answered in compliance with the act that exists that guides such procedures. So I would then say, let's then revisit the Money Bills Amendment Procedure and Related Matters Act, because that is the legal framework that should guide us on how to deal with this issue. Does that act provide or give provision for a 30-day revision of expenditure and revenue? If then it's yes, that makes it possible that after 30 days you can come back to the table. If then it's no, then that means whatever is being narrated by these political parties and the individuals that represent them might not necessarily be in compliance with the law. So if you look at it, the budget itself is a policy or a legal position. So does that legal position then give provision for amendment after 30 days? So we'll have to then go and look at that, because now we are arguing legal issues, arguing legal instruments. And when these statements are made by these political parties, they make no citation of any law or any legal instrument to say that the recommendation that we have made is guided by a certain section of law. So they just make political statements, because what we know, ignorant us, is that once a budget is approved, it will be amended in October in the medium-term budget policy statement. And now, currently, firms are preparing their pricing, because then they have to take cognizance that VAT will be adjusted upwards by 0.5%. So are these political formations then saying to the public that do not make provision for an increment in your prices, wait for 30 days to see? I don't think that's what currently firms are doing, because SMSs are going out to customers right now, to service providers right now, saying prepare yourself for a price increment, because firms would have read the law and they have not seen a provision. I'm not saying it does not exist, but from where I'm seated, it is not there. But what we do know, AJ, is that we have a GDP that is growing slower than public debt. What we do know is that household debt as a percentage of nominal GDP in South Africa is between 41 to 45%. What we do know is that household income to debt ratio is at 63 to 65%. So that means for every R1 that you earn, about 63 cents of it or 65 cents of it goes towards servicing debt. Mm-hmm. What we do know is that for one employed person in South Africa, that person has to take care of 4 unemployed people. When you increase VAT and also bracket creep, you then suppress the purchasing power of these individuals and suppress the economy by extension.
Well, to note, Bongani, there was a fiscal policy framework that was adopted, albeit in the objection of the other parties, that were many other parties, opposition parties, in fact, that I would have loved for us to actually talk about. But unfortunately, we're out of time. We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your input. That is political analyst Bongani Mahlangu there on political developments in the country this particular week.